Commander, the human just growled at the Catharn cub and it submitted. Station Commander Zillax's primary manipulator froze halfway to the emergency lockdown override. On the security monitor, what should have been a bloodbath looked more like... He didn't have words for what it looked like. The Catharn cub, 50 kilograms of razor-sharp death that had just torn through reinforced containment like it was tissue paper, was lying on its back, throat exposed, making soft chirping sounds at the human janitor. The human janitor who was still mopping. "Evacuate Section 7 immediately." Zillax managed, his voice climbing 2 octaves higher than regulation allowed. "Deploy the containment team, full combat gear, and someone get me Dr. Keldra from Xenobiology right now." "Sir." His second officer's voice cracked across the comm. "The human doesn't know there's an emergency. She has audio dampeners in. She's humming." Zillax's posterior 3 hearts skipped in sequence as he watched the monitor. Mia Garcia, overnight sanitation engineer, been on station for 3 standard months. Performance reviews described her as pleasant and thorough, had stopped mopping. The Catharn cub, which belonged to a species that had depopulated 17 colony worlds before the Galactic Council learned to contain them, was rolling over. Rolling over, like it wanted its belly rubbed. "What is she doing?" Zillax whispered. On screen, Mia pulled out one of her audio dampeners, looking mildly annoyed. She planted one hand on her hip, the universal human gesture for moderate irritation, and made a sound. It wasn't speech. It was something that came from deeper in her chest, a rumbling vibration that the station's audio sensors flagged as potential threat vocalization. She growled at it. The cub's ears flattened. Its triple-lidded eyes went wide. And then, by the ancestors, Zillax was watching it happen and still didn't believe it. The cub lowered its head and whined. Whined. A Catharn, the same species whose adults could bite through starship hulls. The species that had taken the combined military might of 14 spacefaring civilizations to contain. The species whose very smell caused instinctive flight responses in 60% of known sapient life. And this human, this janitor, had just dominated it with a noise. "Containment team is 2 minutes out, sir," his second officer reported, sounding like he was actively suppressing panic. "Tranquilizer systems armed, emergency protocols..." "Wait." Zillax leaned closer to the monitor. "Wait, is she scolding it?" Mia had moved closer to the cub, her mop still in one hand. She was making more sounds, sharp, staccato vocalizations mixed with that chest-deep rumble. The cub was backing up, actually retreating from an unarmed human who stood barely half its height. "Sir, the cub's stress hormones..." The medical officer monitoring the situation cut in. "They're decreasing. This doesn't make sense. It should be in full predator mode. The human is prey-sized. She triggered its hunting instincts by running the cleaning equipment. It should be attacking." "Then why isn't it?" Zillax demanded. On the monitor, Mia had apparently finished whatever lecture she was delivering. She went back to mopping, turning her back on the apex predator cub. The cub sat down, just sat there, watching her with what Zillax's disturbed mind could only interpret as puppyish attention. "Get me Dr. Keldra," Zillax repeated, his voice hollow. "And someone find me the human's personnel file. All of it. I need to know what we hired." "Sir, containment team is entering Section 7. Zillax watched 12 of his best security officers, armed with enough firepower to stop a charging Thoraxian bull, creep into frame. They moved in perfect formation, weapons trained on the cub. Mia pulled out her other audio dampener and looked up. Oh, hey guys. Did someone call for backup? Because honestly, I got this. Little dude here just needed some boundaries. Little dude. She'd named it. She'd dominated a Catharn cub and given it a casual nickname. Zilex realized he was gripping his command console hard enough to crack it. Somewhere in the back of his mind, beyond the panic and the disbelief and the dawning horror of what this meant for every xenobiological protocol ever written, one thought crystallized with perfect clarity. Humanity had just rewritten 10,000 years of predator management theory, with a growl and a mop. The containment team leader, a decorated veteran named R. Hill, who'd survived 3 wildlife emergencies across 2 decades, stopped so abruptly his team nearly collided with him. Is she throwing things at it? Mia had wadded up a cleaning cloth and tossed it down the corridor. The Catharn cub, apex predator, terror of the outer colonies, subject of 17 different treaty regulations, bounded after it like an overexcited puppy, grabbed it in its triple rows of serrated teeth, and trotted back to drop it at her feet. Good boy, Mia praised and threw it again. Commander, R. Hill spoke carefully into his comm. We may need to revise our threat assessment. Don't move, Zilex ordered. Dr. Kaldra is 3 minutes out. Nobody do anything until... Mia noticed the containment team. Oh, hey, you guys can put those away. She gestured at their plasma rifles with her mop handle. He's just a baby. Probably got bored in containment. Don't you, buddy? Yes, you did. Yes, you did. She was using what the station's linguistic database flagged as human juvenile-directed speech patterns. To a Catharn. The cub made a sound that Zilhax's 20 years of command experience couldn't classify. It was almost playful. Ma'am, R. Hill managed. Please step away from the predator slowly. What, this guy? Mia laughed and scratched behind the cub's auditory ridge. Its rear leg started thumping against the floor. He's harmless. Well, not harmless, but he's not going to hurt anybody if you don't act like prey. Just got to show confidence, like with dogs back home. Dogs? R. Hill's weapon dipped slightly. Yeah, Mia paused. Wait. Do you guys not have dogs? 4 legs, fur, bark, man's best friend? I have no idea what you're describing, Rahil said flatly. The medical bay doors hissed open, and Dr. Kaldra swept in, her 6 visual organs taking in the scene with the practiced assessment of someone who'd spent 30 years studying megafauna. She opened her vocal aperture, closed it, opened it again. That's physiologically impossible, she announced. The human or the cub? Zilex asked weakly. Both. Neither. Kaldra moved closer, her scanning equipment already recording. Human? What did you do? Mia, and I just used my stern voice. Mia shrugged. The one you use when a dog's being naughty. Deep, firm, kind of a growl. Demonstrate, Kaldra ordered. Okay. Mia looked at the cub, who was chewing on her cleaning cloth. Hey, drop it. The growl that emerged from her chest made 3 members of the containment team take an involuntary step backward. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even particularly aggressive. But something in the frequency, the resonance, the pure authority of it. The cub dropped the cloth immediately. Good boy. Mia's voice shifted instantly to cheerful praise. See? Basic boundaries. Works every time. Kaldra's scanning equipment was flashing alerts across every spectrum. The cub's cortisol levels are dropping. Oxytocin is increasing. It's forming by the ancestors, it's forming a bonding response. Yeah, he likes me, Mia said, as if this was the most obvious thing in the universe. I like him too. Look at this face. She booped the Catharn cub on what passed for its nose. It sneezed, then made that chirping sound again. That vocalization, Zilak said slowly, watching his entire understanding of xenobiology crumble in real time, is only documented in Catharn juveniles when they're with their pack mothers. Mia was scratching the cub behind its auditory ridges again. Makes sense. Pack animals need clear hierarchy. I'm just showing him I'm higher on the ladder. It's not rocket science. It's supposed to be impossible, Kyldra whispered. Huh. Mia tossed the cleaning cloth again. The cub pounced on it with obvious joy. Well, somebody should probably tell him that. Dr. Jitaro materialized from the emergency shuttle bay at a dead run, his emergency authorization bypassing every security checkpoint. 3 decades. 3 decades studying Catharn behavioral psychology, 12 published papers, 2 honorary doctorates, and a Galactic Science Medal for his groundbreaking work on predator containment theory. He skidded to a halt in Section 7's observation gallery. No, he said simply. On the other side of the reinforced glass, the human had placed the Catharn cub in the corner. The corner. And the cub was staying there, looking for all the universe like a chastised juvenile. It nibbled on her mop. Zelax explained, his voice carrying the hollow tone of someone whose reality had shattered hours ago. She told it no, and pointed at the corner. It went. Catharn don't respond to spatial punishment protocols, Jitaro said automatically. Their neural architecture doesn't process abstract behavioral correction. I published a paper on this in... The cub whined. Catharn don't whine, Jitaro continued, his voice climbing. They vocalize in 3 specific contexts: hunting calls, territorial warnings, and mating displays. That sound doesn't exist in my taxonomy. Mia walked over to the corner. Okay, you've thought about what you did. Come here. The cub bounded to her immediately, and she scratched its head. Good boy. We don't chew work equipment, right? Right. Jitaro's secondary breathing apparatus kicked in to compensate for his hyperventilating primary one. Can someone, he managed, explain to me what is happening? The human appears to have established pack dominance, Kyldra reported, her scientific detachment barely masking her existential crisis. Using vocalizations, body language, and positive reinforcement. Those are techniques for domesticated species. Catharn are, yeah, about that. Mia called through the glass. Someone must have told her they had an audience. You guys want me to show you the trick? It's really not complicated. 5 minutes later, Jitaro stood inside Section 7, every instinct screaming at him to run, watching a human janitor lecture him on predator psychology. So the key is confidence, clear boundaries, and consistent tone, Mia explained, like she was describing how to water plants. You make eye contact, not aggressive, just firm. Square your shoulders, take up space. She demonstrated, her posture shifting subtly. That's your alpha stance. Tells them you're in charge. Alpha theory has been discredited in behavioral science for 70 years, Jitaro said weakly. Huh. Works great with dogs, though. Mia shrugged. And I guess with, what did you call him? Catharn? She pronounced it perfectly, which somehow made everything worse. We've been doing this with predators for like 10,000 years. Wolves, big cats, bears. One guy on Earth even domesticated a crocodile. I don't know what any of those words mean, Jitaro admitted. Predators. You know, things with teeth that eat meat. Mia gestured at the cub, who was sitting attentively at her feet. Humans figured out pretty early that if you raise them right, set boundaries, show them your boss, they're actually pretty loyal. Something cold settled in Jitaro's ventral chamber. Wolves? Describe wolves. Pack hunters. Apex predators in their environment. Really smart, social hierarchy, communicate through body language and vocalization. We turned them into dogs about 15,000 years ago. Jitaro pulled up his datapad with trembling manipulators and showed her a hollow image of a Catharn adult. Behavioral profile. Pack hunters. Apex predators. Advanced social hierarchy. Complex communication through posture and vocalization. Mia looked at the image, looked at the cub, looked back at Jitaro. Oh, yeah, that tracks. Same basic psychology. She said it like she was confirming the weather. You're saying your species domesticated the evolutionary analog to the most dangerous predator in known space. I mean, we also domesticated cats, and those are little assholes, so... Mia laughed. The emergency comm crackled to life. Commander, the Galactic Council is demanding a briefing. They want to know if we need to implement Code Black protocols. Code Black. Complete station evacuation. Orbital sterilization if necessary. Zillax looked at Mia playing tug-of-war with a Catharn cub using a cleaning cloth. Tell them, he said slowly, that we may need to reconsider our entire approach to Catharn management. Also, tell them it's possible, just possible, that we've been going about this wrong for 10,000 years. Jitaro sat down heavily on the floor. His life's work, 3 decades of research, every published paper, every theory, every carefully constructed framework, all rendered obsolete by a human janitor and her stern voice. She named it Fluffy. Kaeldra whispered beside him. Jitaro made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob, possibly both. The Galactic Wildlife Authority's head administrator appeared on the main view screen, looking like she'd aged a decade in the past hour. Behind her, Zillax could see at least 15 other officials crowding the frame. Commander Zillax, we need clarification. Your report claims a human has established behavioral control over a Catharn juvenile using... She consulted her notes with visible distaste. Dog training techniques? That's correct, Administrator Viresh. Catharn have been classified as undomesticatable for 10,000 years. 4 civilizations were completely destroyed trying to contain breeding populations. We lost the Vexthari homeworld because someone thought they could control them. Varesh's voice shook. And you're telling me a sanitation worker accomplished this in under an hour? 45 minutes, actually. Mia's voice came through the comm. She was setting up what she called a training demonstration in Section 7. Though to be fair, I had a head start. Been working with animals since I was like 8. In the observation gallery, Jitaro had assembled every xenobiologist on station. Kaeldra was recording from 6 different angles. The containment team stood by, though their weapons were powered down and her hill looked more fascinated than terrified now. Okay, so this is basic obedience training, Mia announced. She held up something from her lunch container. Tactical snacks, super important. Positive reinforcement works way better than punishment. She looked at the cub. Her posture shifted, shoulders back, chin up, that subtle alpha stance she'd demonstrated before. Fluffy, sit. The cub sat immediately. Every xenobiologist in the gallery made a noise of distress. Good boy. Mia tossed him the snack. He caught it mid-air. Now stay. She held up one hand, palm out, and backed away. The cub remained sitting, though his attention never left her. The body language is critical, Jitaro murmured, recording notes at lightning speed. She's using visual cues in conjunction with verbal commands and reward conditioning. But Catharn neural pathways shouldn't... Come! Mia called cheerfully. The cub bounded to her. She rewarded him immediately. That's a Class 5 predator following basic commands, Kaldra whispered. In under an hour of training. Commander, Varesh said from the view screen, her voice very quiet. What kind of world produces humans? Zilax pulled up Earth's classification file. The one HR had assured him was mostly hyperbole when they'd approved human workers for the station. Death world, Class 12 biohazard rating, gravity 1.2 standard, atmospheric oxygen percentage considered toxic to most species, predator to prey ratio. He scrolled down, significantly above safe parameters. Humans evolved competing with megafauna, Jotaro said, pieces clicking into place with horrible clarity. Earth has had species analogous to every major predator class in the known galaxy. And humans didn't just survive them. We figured out how to work with them, Mia added helpfully. She was scratching behind Fluffy's auditory ridges again. Wolves became dogs. We've got people who work with big cats, lions, tigers, leopards. There's a guy in Australia who wrestled crocodiles for fun. Oh, and we domesticated horses, which are like prey animals that can kill you with one kick. So really, the predators were easier. You domesticated species that could kill you, Varesh repeated slowly. I mean, yeah, that's kind of our thing. Mia laughed. If it's got 4 legs and a central nervous system, someone's probably tried to train it. Usually successfully. Jotaro looked at the cub, at Fluffy, who was now playing gently with Mia, careful not to use his full strength. The same species that had depopulated 17 worlds. The same species that had required total containment protocols and had haunted the galaxy's nightmares for millennia. The containment breach, Kaldra said suddenly. Pull up the initial report. Zilax did. He read it aloud. Juvenile displayed signs of severe stress, repetitive behaviors consistent with understimulation, broke containment during evening hours when facility was quietest. He was bored, Mia said. Just needed some enrichment. Playtime, attention, mental stimulation. That's like basic animal care. On the view screen, Varesh was having what looked like a very intense discussion with her fellow officials. She turned back to the camera. Ms. Garcia, how many humans have your skill set? Mia shrugged. I mean, most of us. Anyone who's had a pet, worked on a farm, volunteered at a shelter. It's pretty common. Common, Varesh repeated faintly. Yeah. Why? The silence stretched for a long moment. Finally, Varesh spoke, her voice carrying the weight of someone watching the entire galactic order shift. Because you may have just solved our biggest wildlife management crisis. We have Catharn populations on 43 worlds that require constant military containment. The resource drain is... She stopped. We need to discuss hiring protocols immediately. Mia looked down at Fluffy, who gazed up at her with something that looked disturbingly like adoration. Huh? She said. Cool. Can I finish my shift first? So you want me to write down my training protocols? Mia asked, looking at the assembled collection of the galaxy's top xenobiologists, wildlife management experts, and galactic authority officials crowding the observation gallery. Yes, Varesh said, with the intensity of someone requesting nuclear launch codes. Complete documentation, every technique, every principle, every method you employed. Sure, give me a sec. Mia pulled a napkin from her lunch bag and borrowed a pen from our hill. 30 seconds later, she held it up to the camera. Be confident, set boundaries, treats help. That's it? Jotaro asked. I mean, there's nuance, but yeah, basically. Mia shrugged. Consistency is key. Oh, and read their body language. But that's pretty intuitive once you know what to look for. Zilax felt something in his brain crack. A human janitor, making 15 credits per hour plus benefits, had just solved a 10,000-year-old crisis with 3 sentences on a napkin. "We need to create a new position," Varesh announced. "Human wildlife consultant. Ms. Garcia, we're prepared to offer—" "Can I finish my shift first?" Mia interrupted. "I still have to do sections 8 through 12, and the floors don't clean themselves." "The floors—" Varesh stopped, visibly recalibrating. "Ms. Garcia, we have 43 containment facilities experiencing critical management issues. The resource allocation alone—" "Yeah, I get it. Super important." Mia was already picking up her mop. "But I've got like 3 hours left on my shift, and I don't leave jobs half done. Professional pride, you know." She looked down at Fluffy, who'd been sitting patiently at her feet throughout the entire discussion. "Come on, buddy. You can help." The cub, 50 kilograms of apex predator that had required a full emergency lockdown 2 hours ago, trotted after her like an oversized puppy. "She's taking it with her," Kaeldra observed unnecessarily. "The Catharn is now her emotional support predator," Jotaro said, his voice carrying the distinctive tone of someone whose entire worldview had been thoroughly demolished. "I need to sit down." "You are sitting down," Arhill pointed out. "Then I need to lie down." Zilax's comm lit up, and kept lighting up. Requests flooding in from stations across 7 sectors. All with predator management issues, all demanding human consultants, all willing to pay extraordinary sums for what Mia had done with a growl and a napkin. "Commander," his second officer said carefully, "should I forward these to Ms. Garcia?" "After her shift," Zilax said automatically. "Then, and someone draft new emergency protocols. Specifically, in case of predator breach, contact human personnel first." Down in Section 8, visible on the security feeds, Mia was mopping while Fluffy watched with rapt attention. She'd apparently taught him to stay out of the way of the bucket. "You know what's really wild?" Mia's voice came through the comm. She'd forgotten to mute it. "This is exactly like cat-sitting for my neighbor. Same principles: confidence, boundaries, routine. Though Mrs. Henderson's tabby is way more of a diva than you, Fluffy." "Yes, she is. Yes, she is." She was baby-talking to an apex predator. The apex predator's tail was wagging. "I'm putting in a request for cognitive recalibration therapy," Kaeldra announced. "Anyone else?" 3 dozen hands went up. Varesh's voice cut through the chaos. "Commander Zilax, we're establishing a new division, Human-Predator Relations. Ms. Garcia will head it. Please inform her that her salary is being adjusted to reflect—" "She's teaching it to fetch," someone whispered. Everyone turned to the monitor. Mia had wadded up another cleaning cloth. Fluffy's attention was laser-focused on her hand. "Fluffy, fetch!" The cub bounded after the cloth, grabbed it, and brought it back, dropping it at her feet. "Good boy. Now, stay there while I finish this section. Think you can do that?" Fluffy sat and stayed. "That's a very good boy. Yes, you are." Zilax pulled up the station's official incident report and began typing. Incident: Catharn Containment Breach, Section 7. Resolution: Human employee utilized species-appropriate behavioral modification techniques. Casualties: 0 paradigm shifts, 1 total. Updated protocols. In case of predator-related emergency, contact human personnel immediately. Additional notes: consider renaming Apex Predator Classification. Current terminology may be human-centric bias. He paused, then added, personal note: The human has named the Catharn Fluffy. All objections to inappropriate nomenclature have been overruled by reality. The name has stuck. Send help. Down in Section 8, Mia pushed her cleaning cart toward Section 9, humming off key. Behind her, one of the galaxy's most feared predators trotted along, occasionally glancing up at her with what could only be described as adoration. "Hey, Fluffy," Mia said cheerfully. "Think you can learn to carry the mop? That'd be super helpful. We'll work on it tomorrow." The cub chirped. "I'll take that as a yes." Somewhere in the galaxy, Varesh was probably having a breakdown. Jotaro was definitely having a breakdown. The entire field of xenobiology would need to be rewritten from the ground up. But in Section 9 of Wildlife Management Station Kepler 442, a human janitor was teaching an apex predator to be helpful during her shift. And somehow, in the vast, incomprehensible universe, that made perfect sense. Or at least, it made human sense. Which, Zilax was learning, might be the only sense that really mattered.